Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing well as usual. So back today with another video, this time going back to my existing CD collection. So just before we get started, I'll say you've probably noticed from the picture quality that it's an overcast day where I live, or at least for now. So that means maybe the lighting isn't as good as normal, but I don't want to switch on the lights in here because then it becomes too intensely bright like a crystal palace or something. So yep, this is the way it is, but hopefully you can see everything clearly enough that I show today. So yep, going back to my existing CD collection, and only 3 albums to talk about today. But this video is slightly different because it contains one band which maybe a lot of people wouldn't expect me to own or expect me to show, and because it's shock horror mainstream. So just letting you know in advance of that, you don't have to unsubscribe from the channel if you don't like this particular artist. Remember, not every video is going to be for you, but yep, so there is one extreme metal release though, so like we're up to MA, I finished Marduk, so what I'm going to do with the 2 artists today is switch them around, so we start with some extreme metal to ease people in first, okay? So yep, so after Marduk, continuing down the alphabet, this is MASSEMORD with Skogen Color. So this is a Norwegian band. I have talked about them before. I'm not sure if you pronounce it MASSEMORD or MASSEMORD or maybe something else, I don't know, but it translates to mass murder. Nice. I'm saying that jokingly, of course, like, wow, that's a very sort of subtle band name, isn't it? But after all, it is black metal. And the album Skogen Color, which I believe means Forest's Calling, maybe derived from the Dark Throne album Transylvanian Hunger. You know, there's a lyric in that which says Skogen Color. But yes, I did show this once before, years and years ago, I think in the first year of my channel actually, when I ordered this from Hell's Headbangers. So I will just do a recap today if you like, but in a nutshell, this album, this is the only one I own by them, and it says here, expanded 3rd edition. So I'm not even sure what the 1st and 2nd look like, but this has got a lot of bonus tracks and it goes on for a very long time. It's about 15 tracks, but in a nutshell, MASSEMORD is atmospheric black metal with keyboards in the Norwegian 90s vein. So as I mentioned, it's a Norwegian band. Most of the song titles are in Norwegian too. So if you like 90s Scandinavian black metal, especially Norwegian black metal, you're definitely going to enjoy this. I have mentioned this before, but to me, it's like a melting pot of influences from a lot of the great Norwegian black metal bands. So like some of the influences or sounds I can hear in this are from bands like Ancient, Old Dimmu Borgir, Enslaved, Dark Throne, Gorgoroth, Immortal, Carpathian Forest, and Gehenna. So straight away, that's going to appeal to a lot of people. Thought it was raining, sorry. Yep, and it also takes some influence I've noticed from the like sort of very keyboard heavy Finnish black metal bands like And Oceans, but primarily it's like a Norwegian sounding album. But even though I've said it's like a melting pot of all these different influences, they do sound completely unique. In parts, it's very raw and sinister and aggressive black metal in that sort of like second wave old school vein. And then in other sections, it sounds more like melodic and atmospheric Viking metal. So it does have aspects of that too, but I just think it blends together to be a really interesting album. So talking about the production, it is raw, but not excessively so. You can still hear everything clearly, but it just has that right sort of bite that you want in black metal production, like not too polished, not too clean. And the vocals are that very sort of typical raspy, throaty style, but they also include some guttural, low-pitched growls, as a lot of black metal bands do. So pretty standard vocals, but still very cool, and they fit the music well. So yes, it's like a combination of raw black metal, raw yet atmospheric black metal, especially like the album which really springs to mind is Dark Throne's Transylvanian Hunger. You know, there's very sort of like morbid, melancholic riffs which went on to influence DSBM, that kind of thing. But then you just have these amazing standout moments, and there's a lot of standout moments on this album. So please bear with me with my pronunciation. But for example, like track 1 entitled Na Solen Dør Bak Fjellet, I think that features some folky Viking-esque atmospheric keyboards, which are very melodic and memorable, in fact striking. Then on track 2, which is entitled Solen Skinna Ikja, that features a melodic, almost psychedelic guitar solo, as well as more atmospheric Nordic keyboards. And the kind of like stomping riff, like the groovy riff breakdown, features some very memorable guitar melodies, creating a very Viking atmosphere. So like, again, the Viking theme is very prominent on this album, as you can see here. Yeah, so like think of bands like Bathory and Early Enslaved with that kind of sound. And then track 3 entitled Skogen Kalla Ogvi Svara, I think. That reminds me a bit of Gorgoroth's Insipid Satan album, particularly the track An Excerpt of X, especially the riff and melody. So like if you recalled me saying An Excerpt of X is one of my favorite songs from Gorgoroth's Insipid Satan, so you see like the connection there as well. Now probably my favorite track on the album, I think I've mentioned this before, is track 6, an English title, which is I Have Sipped the Blood of Christ. This is just an excellent sinister melodic riff, which is really haunting and evil. So think of like riffs in the vein of Dark Throne's Transylvanian Hunger and Ulvers Nathan's Madrigal. So it's absolutely hypnotic and evil sounding, absolutely fantastic. Also, Demon Storm track 8 features a groovy main riff in the vein of Gorgoroth and Shooter. So again, you know those kind of like stomping, groovy, heavy riffs where you really sort of screw your face up when you listen to it. Maybe I speak for myself there, but you know, like a riff which you can really sink your teeth into, like, but that dark groove of bands like Gorgoroth and Shooter on Demon Storm. Now, another track which I find really good on this is track 9, entitled Soul Deceiver. That features some excellent haunting riffage in the vein again of Dark Throne's Transylvanian Hunger and Ulvers Nathan's Madrigal, and even aspects of Marduk, you know, with this kind of like blistering blast beats and melodies, in addition to some atmospheric synth panning. Yeah, so that's really cool. So while this is a very raw and evil sounding black metal band, they're not shy of using keyboards, but they don't use them to excess, just when it sort of serves the song, you could say. Now, track 11, entitled Der Gamle Festningen, that features a good chugging riff with atmospheric synths, and also features a lick which is very reminiscent of the opening riff in Mayhem's Freezing Moon. So you can really see how this is a melting pot of Norwegian black metal. It later launches into a full-on blistering black metal assault, you know, with that fast riffage, and also features some melodic atmospheric synths later on. So you see how there's so much diversity within the songs as well. So the songs I'm mentioning here are just the ones that stand out to me with these really striking moments, so, of which there are plenty on the album, as you can probably tell. So then you come to a track. Yeah, that's 11 tracks. The number 11, which is a bonus. Then there are actually 4 bonus tracks here, and they're pretty good as well, like Soldnedgangen, which is track 12. Features some atmospheric acoustic guitars, almost like classical in nature, and that's very much in the vein of early Immortal, particularly those acoustic passages on diabolical full moon mysticism, as well as Bathory and acoustic Ulver. So no wonder this album appeals to me so much. A random song is one called Nothing But Pain, which is a death metal song actually, which is a cover of a band called E-Fest. I'm not sure if that's an abbreviation or something, but it sounds a bit like a Morbid Angel song with the riffage and the plotting. And then Heckeldicht, which is a track towards the end, that's like a kind of dirgy Viking metal song where the vocals are dirgy and folky in the vein of Isengard. So you can see with all my comparisons here, I've mentioned so many Norwegian black metal bands. So if you like any or all or a good few of those bands that I've mentioned, you will absolutely love this. So look at it. It's the full package as well with the corpse paint in the woods. You know it's cool. All of the tracks on the back there. There's the Viking ship, so like I said, like you can really hear the Viking influences on this album in terms of the melodies and the music, which is cool. And yeah, very old school 90s layout with all the lettering and the font and everything. Grim pictures of the band in the woods. And yep, they really didn't skimp on this. Very nice disc as well. And another picture on the inside there. Yeah, so like it's not a band that I hear people talking about a lot, but they are certainly well known. But if you're a fan of Norwegian black metal, particularly from the 90s, you need this. So this is MASSEMORD with Skogen Kalla. Okay, so hopefully people are still interested at this stage because I'm talking about extreme metal. But as I mentioned, the next band that I'm going to talk about today is far from extreme metal. It's metal related, but it's mainstream. So as I said, you don't have to unsubscribe. So this is still in the MAs. So I did MASSEMORD first, just to sate people, if you like. But yes, believe it or not, the next 2 albums are from the same artist, and we'll just get straight into it. Here is Marilyn Manson with Antichrist Superstar. Yep, so everyone hold your horses. if you don't like this band, as I said, you don't have to unsubscribe, but yeah, a lot of people would probably be surprised that I own this, but I do like Marilyn Manson, and in case you're wondering, no, I wasn't a Manson fan who then later discovered metal. No, absolutely not, no. In the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I got into heavy metal and extreme metal. So this was after I was into extreme metal, I discovered this band, but I thought they were interesting, particularly after I saw them at a festival in Australia. Like, I had some friends who liked them, and then I saw the live performance, and that basically sold me on this band and encouraged me to buy the album. So yes, if you're not familiar, how can you not be? But like, Marilyn Manson is sort of considered like dark industrial goth metal, especially like on this album and earlier albums, but he's pretty eclectic in terms of musical influences. Like, where to start with Marilyn Manson's musical influences, it ranges from punk to metal to, just really random stuff like classic rock, classic singers, glam, and all this stuff. So, but I think it's really interesting, and it's definitely unique. I know the band has a kind of bad rap because, like, Marilyn Manson, that's the name of the band, but the front man, he sort of became the pin-up boy for youthful rebellion in the 90s, and he was obviously feared by the general public because he represented everything which was anti-Christian or anti-religious, and also anti-establishment. So especially conservative America was very alarmed by him and everything. And it seems like the main audience which they appealed to was sort of like the teen goth audience, but I don't think they necessarily picked that. It's just like it appealed to that particular group. But I think with this band's complexity and level of intelligence, like both musically and lyrically, I think they go well beyond that teenage goth scene. So I know some people might be put off by that, but if you actually listen to the music, it's really good. So yes, it's not extreme metal, but as I've mentioned, it's still very dark, and I'm always interested in dark music. I think there are many different shades and colors to darkness. Oh, sorry, I'm plagiarizing there. That was the guy from Celtic Frost who said that, but it's absolutely true. Like, it doesn't always have to just sound like black metal or death metal to be dark. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but yeah, really like this album anyway. Now, I am aware of the fact that Marilyn Manson himself is not immune to controversy, and he's become infamous because of his non-musical escapades. Obviously, I'm not interested in those. The reason I listen to a band is because of the music. And yeah, this band is very theatrical, but what you have on this album, it's a very complex and diverse album. Now I'm just consorting my notes here. Yeah, so basically it's industrial goth metal. It's very dark, but it's so diverse because you have some tracks which are like dirty punk tracks, then ones which sound like heavy metal, and then other ones which sound like dark industrial and electronica, and then like some kind of country sounding song. So it is based on a concept which I'm not overly familiar with, but I think like it's sort of like a concept album where the songs are chapters. But I mean, I don't delve into that too much. I just like the music. But like I said, I don't expect extreme metal fans to be sold on this, but if you are open-minded enough, check this band out. It is interesting, especially if you like goth rock or industrial music, and sort of like maybe like some new metal fans would like it as well, even though it's not new metal. But I mean, metal fans, it's a completely unique band. So yeah, really like this album. This is sort of like in sync with the dark industrial heavy metal stuff. But it consists of actually 17 tracks, all of which are really good. I should have brought my... Do you know what? Just wait a minute. Okay, the old magnifying glass comes out. Sorry, because I don't have my glasses. Okay, yeah, so the album starts with Irresponsible Hate Anthem, which my friends and I used to always call the G.G. Allin song because it sounds very raw, like he's, like it's a live performance, I think, but very like fast and aggressive and guitar oriented. Track 2 is The Beautiful People, which was of course the big single from this album. I don't care what anyone says, I like that song. I especially like the kind of the hooky groove in it with the riff like and the synths and the vocals are really good as well. Obviously, I'm not going to go into like every nuance of how Marilyn Manson sings or how the music sounds like. You just have to listen, but I'm just trying to give an overview here. Okay, yeah, track 3, Dried Up Tied and Dead to the World. That's a really dark industrial track, and I really like that a lot. Very good, memorable chorus on that. And oh yeah, track 4, Tourniquet, is a good one. Very memorable chorus on that, and like 1996 is a good one from memory. Now, the section of the album which I find perhaps the most interesting, so like that, I've talked about the intro there, is the middle part. Like there's just so many memorable parts on a lot of these songs, like the song Deformography. That's the one, there's just like a lot of very memorable vocal lines in that song, like Dirty Rockstar, Click Your Fingers, It Is Done, You Are the One I Wanted, So Unreal. So these are like some of the lyrics which stick in your head, and that's to a backdrop of dark, murky industrial music. It's really cool. Now the song Worm Boy, I know that's, a lot of fans hate that song and say it's really cheesy. I like it because it's incredibly catchy, you know, like with the, if you know, it sounds like a little catchy sing-along ditty, but it is a good song, Worm Boy. In my opinion, I just like it. Angel with the Scabbed Wings, that's got some eerie keyboards in the background, that's going into this, delving into this very dark industrial goth territory. As with Kinderfeld, that's a really dark industrial track too, and like these kind of like hypnotic robotic keyboards, it's absolutely brilliant. So you really get immersed in this kind of dark industrial atmosphere on this album. Now, yeah, so that's, as I said, that's probably my favorite section. But then the closing section of the album, the closing third of the album, that's sort of like the climax. Like you've got the title track, Antichrist Superstar, which has a very sort of eerie, spooky intro. It sounds like a ghost or something. Then with that really heavy, catchy riff and like a crowd screaming like they're at some fascist rally. Because I think this is like a band, they're not fascist politically, but they appeal to the aesthetics of fascism. You know, like it's like a big rally. Have you seen the performance where he's standing behind a podium and everything? So it's like black metal has that as well to a degree. But yeah, Antichrist Superstar, it's a very sort of like a heavy, catchy anthem for Marilyn Manson. I really like that, and I loved it when I saw them play that live. Minute of Decay is a good song too, quite minimalist with the bass and everything, but it's just very dark. And like that's the thing, it's not always dark and evil. Sometimes he does sort of somber, kind of almost ballady songs, like that song and Man That You Fear, for example. I also really like The Reflecting God, just amazing, especially that chorus. Like it's so aggressive and mosh breakdown-esque. It's absolutely fantastic. So there you have it. It's not the kind of music I normally listen to, but whenever I put this on, I still really enjoy it. It's only once in a while, but I would say, yes, this is my favorite Marilyn Manson album, and I'm still happy to own this. So there's the cover. So just show you the booklet, so all of the lyrics and members of the band, and of course they had that concept of naming themselves after like a cross between a serial killer and someone who is glamorous and famous, like Marilyn Manson. Of course, like Charles Manson and Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, so you have all the other band members here. And like I said, this is a very sort of complex concept album. So I think it's sort of like an autobiography about Marilyn Manson. And apparently when they recorded this, they had been up for a week already on crystal meth or something. So that's certainly reflected in the music, but not in a negative sense. It's just so manic and dark. So it's almost like they're tapping into this raw primal emotion when they were under the influence, but the outcome was good. Obviously, I'm not condoning, you know, illicit substance, particularly like very harmful ones like that, but that contributed to the musical outcome. So like this, that was sort of like an iconic logo for the band, which sort of, again, it's sort of appealing to that, the aesthetics of fascism. But anyway, yes, great album, Marilyn Manson with Antichrist Superstar. How's everyone feeling? I hope you're not too upset that I showed that. If you are, then you're going to get even more upset, because this is the next album by Marilyn Manson. This is Mechanical Animals, which came out 2 years later, 1998, I think. And that's when I saw this band was actually on this tour. So this is still goth metal and industrial metal, but to a much lesser extent than this one. This one, they say, took a lot more influence from 70s glam music. For example, T-Rex, Queen and David Bowie. So like a lot of the songs are more sort of like somber and slower and anthemic, but they're really catchy songs and it's just sort of like dark in a different way. Like a lot of these songs are kind of depressing and despairing rather than dark and evil, but if you're in the right mood, it can be a really good album to listen to. So now with this one, they only list the song titles on the inside, which is kind of annoying, but just go through these. So yeah, the opening track, Great Big White World, is like a very sort of depressing track, but it's cool. The Dope Show, it was one of the singles from this album, and I saw them perform that live. Like, it got a very sort of like swing time groove to it, which is cool. Mechanical Animals is another sort of like dark and depressive song. Rock is Dead was the other big single from this album, like quite heavy and catchy. Now, the song Disassociative, I love that song. Again, very melancholic, but extremely emotional, and a lot of the lyrics stand out for that to me. The Speed of Pain, that one is like, again, like depressing and a sad song, but there's still some appeal to it to me. So like, you see what I mean? You're probably getting the impression so far that this is quite a depressive album, and I would say that's right, but you know, sometimes when you're in the right mood, it can be catharsis to listen to this kind of music. So it's not like, it's not kind of pick-me-up happy music to put this one, but there are some upbeat songs on this, like yeah, Posthuman is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's interesting, like the first half of the album is mostly slower songs, then it gets a bit more upbeat, but Posthuman is really catchy and sing-along. The other big hit from this one was I Don't Like the Drugs, But the Drugs Like Me. Some memorable moments in that song, especially with the lyrics and the gospel choir as well. New Model number 15 is a great song, like a song making fun of the superficiality of models, but like the lyrics are just funny and very memorable. And yeah, the other song I really like is The Last Day on Earth, very dark and depressing. And then if you want to get into really dark, depressing songs, it's like Fundamentally Loathsome and Coma White. So these songs, yes, it's rock, it's kind of gothy, it's kind of industrial, but they're mostly slower songs with more focus on traditional songwriting arrangements, like as I've mentioned, from these glam artists from the 70s. So if you like those bands like, you know, Queen, T-Rex, David Bowie, this might appeal to you. It's like a darker version of those bands, because Marilyn Manson is obviously quite dark, but yes, you have to be in the right mood to listen to this album. But when I listened to it yesterday, I was amazed at like how much I enjoyed it and how much I sang along. And there are some upbeat songs, as I said, like Rock is Dead and Posthuman and New Model. Yeah, for some reason they didn't include User Friendly, but yeah, that's a good song as well. But yeah, great stuff. Not for everyone, but here's, I'll just show you the cover. So, sorry, the cover I can't talk properly. Coma White, because the album's representing a pill. All of the song titles in there. And then you have the cover with Marilyn Manson looking very androgynous. And this was the alternative cover, because there was another concept behind this album. I think it was that like they were some dark, glammy kind of rock band. I think that was, they were supposed to be like a darker version of glam, because the pseudonym which he had for this was Omega. So Omega and the Mechanical Animals, the name for Marilyn Manson's band. So there you have it. Yeah, so like I said, you've got to be in the right mood for this, and I'm not expecting a lot of you to like this, but if you can be open-minded enough, it's definitely worth checking out. And just to show you, this is actually the version my mum gave me. She stopped liking this album, I guess. This is the one I bought in Australia with the blue cover. So the same thing, layout is the same, but I've just got mine the other way around. Yep, so Omega and the Mechanical Animals. Yep, so kind of like dark, depressive, industrial goth rock, but with a sort of glammy influence and very sort of mainstream traditional songwriting approaches. But there you have it, Marilyn Manson with Mechanical Animals. All right, and that's it for today, guys. So if you got through this video, give yourselves a pat on the back. I know it must have been hard for you, for some of you, especially considering how I babble on anyway, but particularly because this was not extreme metal. When I say that, I'm being semi-sarcastic. Like, I'm sure some of you will appreciate it, maybe not. But it's just, I know how YouTube can be a very tough crowd. So sometimes like people instantly, they just see something they remotely don't like and they cancel their subscription. So I may be making jokes about it, or being a bit over analytical, but like I said, I hope you continue to watch. So the reason I only covered 3 albums in today's video is because the next artist, like going down the alphabet, in my CD collection is a band by which I own multiple releases, so I'm going to do all of those in one video. As for who that band is, have a guess, because today I looked at Marilyn Manson and MASSEMORD. What could be next? Famous Norwegian black metal band. But anyway, that won't necessarily be in the next video, but in my next edition of existing CD collection. So I hope you continue to watch, and I hope you stay subscribed. As always, I'm going to change it up, so the next video will be more extreme metal again, so don't worry about that. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. So in the meantime, take care, and I'll catch you later. Cheers, bye.